have your fear, which might become reality. And you have Godzilla, which is reality.
I'm sick of Godzilla.
Wake up, gentlemen!
There are two things you'll know about the Earth. One is me, and the other is Godzilla.
We're safe now. No human being can understand that. The monsters on Monster Island can understand it.
Whether he returns or not, or is never again seen by human eyes, the things he has taught us remain.
Hey,
what's up? How's it going, buddy?
we're back. I don't know why I say we're back every single time because it feels like a long time to me. 2 weeks feels like a long time to me. Sometimes it is longer than 2 weeks, but I don't know. I feel like every time we come back, I'm like, whoa, we're back. Yeah, we're back. We're on stage.
I know, and it's not like I haven't talked to you yesterday. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah,
It's like
I
don't know why it feels so long, but
dude, sometimes it's a lot of podcasting going on. A lot of podcasting this week, but it's good because it's nice to have something to do.
Yeah.
Look forward to hang scheduled time. All podcasting is just scheduling time to hang out with your friends. Honestly.
Right? And hit a record button. Oh, well, real quick though, speaking of podcasts, because I know since the last time we chatted, you've probably literally been on 12 podcasts. And everybody that listens know this is a crazy time for you because you are part of the world's #1 Ghostbusters influencers.
I am.
How are you feeling mentally? How are you feeling mentally heading into the big release coming up next month? How's it feel, man?
I'm over it.
Okay.
No, it's crazy. So if anybody's listening to this who aren't like YHS, I feel like our audience has to be very a weird mixture of YHS people that I feel like people who are fans of YHS and listen to YHS and watch Toy Anxiety, they watch all of our shows, even if they're not. I've had YHS people be like, "Hey, I don't know what the fuck you and Jay are talking about, but I like listening to it."
We don't either.
And that's great. But I'm assuming we probably have people who listen to this who are just diehard kaiju people and don't care about Toy Anxiety or don't care about Ghostbusters.
But they should.
They should, and that's why I'm just going to recap for any of those people who are listening. YHS. The reason the show is called YHS on Monster Island is because. Yes, have some the home podcast. We talk about Ghostbusters a lot, and last year, we were able to spend a couple days on set of the new Ghostbusters in London, and then we got to spend a couple more days on the set of Ghostbusters in Atlanta, and we did a lot of behind the scenes filming, a lot of just random stuff. It was so long ago that you get jaded to your footage and you've edited it and watched it so many times that now I'm like, you're just kind of like, oh yeah, we did that. But we're right on the cusp of our stuff becoming it's going to be officially released by Sony. Yeah. It's going to come out on all the Sony channels. It's going to be part of the official promotion for the movie. And now that we're editing it together and getting their pages and pages of edits that they want us to make, and now that the trailers are coming out, we're watching the trailer and then looking at our footage and we're like, oh my God. Yeah. We got to do the coolest thing in the world. And it's been 6 months, so we've kind of cooled on it. But now that it's all starting back up and the movie's coming out next month, it's literally all I can think about. And it's so much work. Jay, we didn't even talk about this before the show, but we're having to do so much work with Sony for Ghostbusters right now that I called Craig over the weekend and I was kind of in stressed mode because we're supposed to be doing the Jeffries this month. We do the Jeffrey Toy Awards every February. And, for the next 3 weeks, I'm out of town. I got stuff to do. And I'm not going to be in Atlanta until towards the end of the month. And I'm like, that's not going to be enough time for us to get all of the Jeffrey stuff done. And Craig was like, let's move it. He's like, we have to move it. We're not going to get it done. And then me and Craig were like, oh, Ryan's going to be mad. And then Craig called Ryan and he was like, hey man, I think we're going to have to move the Jeffries. And Ryan goes, thank fucking God. Because we're just all so busy. So the Jeffries are going to be in April.
I love it.
After Ghostbusters is done. So it just gives us all time
We need it
to get everything recorded, to get everything filmed, and to get all the nominations in. And it's just, we got a lot to do. This is going to be a really, really busy month for YHS. So that's
so
how I feel.
everybody. Thank your lucky stars that Jake was able to carve out some time today to come to the island to chat about, to argue over the top Godzilla scenes of all time.
I wouldn't miss it, but I will say, like, if you like listening to YHS on Monster Island, if you like other YHS stuff, consider the Patreon. Like, that really, that I know we don't talk about that a lot on here because the Patreon isn't like super populated with Monster Island stuff. But there's a Discord that comes with that, and people that span the YHS universe are in there constantly. There's a channel for Monster Island, and honestly, I'm annoyed there's not more monster talk in there. But the Discord, the Patreon helps us out so much. It got us to London, so like that kind of stuff. It really, really makes a big difference, and it's what makes us able to spend 4 nights a week podcasting, is because we have the Patreon backing it. So
and I'll be as somebody that taking the YHS on Monster Island hat off, like the Patreon community, you like the do Discord, but everything, like it's its own little vibrant like sub ecosystem within the community. It's really fun.
We try to do some extra episodes for Discord. I don't think we've ever done any like Monster Island stuff, but we do an extra toy anxiety that's private. It's live, but it's private to people who are only in the Patreon,
and it's extreme.
It's extreme toy anxiety. And then we do we regular YHS puts episodes up sporadically a couple times a month. If you're in the higher tier, you get merch that's exclusive.
That's really cool.
There's also a Patreon only Instagram page that's private unless you're on there. And then there's the Discord, and there's also a Facebook group. So like it's a lot of stuff.
Can I say one of your lines?
Ad. I'm sorry, this is 7-minute ad.
Oh, no. Can I say one of your lines though?
Yeah.
You're doing too much. That's too much. You guys are doing too much.
I don't want to brag. I don't want to brag, but I do more than anybody else in the YHS family. I'm on more podcasts than Craig, Abby, Ryan, you, everybody.
You're the workhorse.
You're the workhorse.
You're the workhorse.
My back is the back keeping this together. My backbone is infused with YHS DNA.
I love it. But hey, well, how about this? We'll throw it out there. If you are listening to Monster Island, you haven't dabbled in that, and you discover toy anxiety or YHS and you love it, and you do join the Patreon, shoot Jake a note, shoot some people a note. And if we have enough people that do join, we'll throw in some extra content. I have no problem recording stuff.
For sure. We would absolutely do some extra stuff. Sometimes with YHS, what we'll do is we'll sit down to record our regular episode, but maybe we'll do 20 or 30 minutes at the beginning, and we'll cut that out. Unless you're on Patreon. And Patreon, you get like a 20 or 30 minute longer episode, no edits. If somebody says something they're not supposed to, we leave it in, or whatever. It's just like no edits. You hear us just bullshitting and stuff like that. So
I love it, dude. I love it. Yeah,
it's good stuff. Cool. Let's talk about Godzilla. Jay, was there before we start with toys? Was there any news? Was there news to talk about?
So there hasn't been because this weekend coming up, like when we're recording this, is on a Wednesday night. So like the week coming up weekend, it's Wonderfest, the Winter Wonderfest in February.
I've been seeing some teases.
Yeah. So there hasn't been a lot of people releasing stuff because I know a lot of them have been getting ready for the festival, and Sun Guts releasing stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, like not only they are always awesome, like they've added a couple new sculpts in there. I'm like, so I'm really pumped about that. But no, there hasn't been a lot of news. There's been some cool toys released here and there, but nothing kind of like in our wheelhouse. A lot of like more like Ultraman stuff, some more kind of more like the action figure realm, and some smaller stuff. But nothing too crazy that we didn't talk about 2 weeks ago. So I think next recording we'll have those.
We'll probably have a lot.
Reveals. But no, there's a ton.
Well, then we're skipping news. The only thing I want to say, not really a news item, but I did see Peter from Mondo say that those Mechagodzillas are coming soon.
I saw that too.
Did
Oh
you
my
see
gosh, I'm
that?
so excited. Yes, I'm so
Somebody, I
excited.
don't know if he had it in the stories or something. Also, I don't know if anybody ordered those Rodans. I think I
I
also
did.
saw them say that those are supposed to be shipping this week or next
That's
week.
awesome.
So Rodans are going out soon, and those Mechagodzillas, or at least the first run of the Mechagodzilla. I'm sure they're not both coming at the same time, but
Which
at
one
least
was
that-
first? Which one was
the
first?
the white one.
The white one. Go.
Yeah, because it was. Listen, I bought them both.
Yeah, same.
I want to be honest. I like the second one
Me too.
better. But I did not want to miss on the sculpt is so beautiful. Peter is such a, it's such a good toy that I was like, well, I don't really want to be getting both of these, but I do not want to miss it. So I bought the first one just in case I didn't make the second one.
Yeah.
And it's one of those toys where it's like, I am not going to be mad that I own two of these. You know what I mean?
No.
So,
and they're different enough. And they're different enough for a color.
100%.
They'll look cool, kind of like almost like shadowing each other, right? Like it'll be and I'm excited to have them. I have like my spot reserved for them is like I'll have the Attack Peter, the Godzilla, and then I'll flank it with the two Mecha Godzillas. I'm ready to go, man.
Oh, dude, that's a good. I really hope. I know they have a lot of plans over there, and I know that they've unveiled already a good bit of Godzilla stuff. But I really hope they continue doing Safubi of the Kaiju just in Peter's style.
Me too.
Because I don't have the Godzilla statue. I'd rather have that as a Safubi that matches the size, because the statue's smaller than what the toy is going to be.
Yeah, I think it's like 6.5, 7 inches before, not on the stage.
I would love for him to do a 9-inch, a 9-inch figure of that Godzilla in his style, and then maybe just keep that line, dude. If they did a Megalon like that, why haven't they done a Megalon? I'm kind of mad they haven't done a Megalon yet. I'm gonna let Peter know.
Well, it's funny because like when I remember like you were out and Peter was on Monster Island, right, when the first one came out, right?
Yeah.
And we chatted about it, and the one thing I was blown away. I mean, we all know Peter is like an amazing artist and talent and stuff, and like there's no shock that he could do really cool stuff. But the fact that like he took his style, which is this very kind of organic and like, it's these linoleum blocks, and he made a metal monster still appear metallic, but like in that style, it just blew my mind. And that's why I'm really excited about it.
I am too. And it like, Peter's does it kind of annoy you how great of a guy Peter is?
Yeah. People that are always that nice always annoy me.
He's way too nice. He's like way too good at everything he does.
Yeah.
He's like making connect, dude. He's such a good. Listen, I don't want to sit here and talk about Peter's. I think everybody who knows Peter knows that he's probably the best person they've ever met.
Well, here's the thing though, Jake. Okay, so take that, and I agree with everything you said. And it's something weird about these, like the upper tier, like upper tier, like the top kaiju artists out there, right? That around. Like, think about these: Bob Eggleton, Peter, Tom Whalen, Mark Nagata. You can say the same thing about all of them.
Yeah,
they're all like ridiculously like nice and cool, and everything they do in their style.
Do you know why? Hey, do you know why? It's because we all grew up being obsessed with Godzilla movies and not having other people to share it with.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel like such a it makes you feel so lonely as a kid to love something more than anything. And every single person you ask about it is like, what is that?
Yeah. No,
I think that makes you that's what builds your character when you get older and you actually find people. They're just all nice people.
I tell you, that is one thing I think
that's psychology.
I know it is. I mean, you are basically Dr. Jacob Walsh here.
Yeah.
But I remember when we first met, that was like one thing I think we bonded over even more than Godzilla. It was like we were late in adulthood before we met somebody that actually had a working knowledge of Godzilla. And because we both didn't do like all the Godzilla conventions and G-Fest and stuff, whatever. Like, and like we were never in the community like you are with Ghostbusters and Star Wars and things like that. So I think it's fascinating. And in fact, we were at Kaiju Go last year, and we were at a table, or I was at the Tokyo Toy Town table, and a kid came up, and his dad had reached out to me before on Kaiju Go, and I was trying to like give the kid, like let him cut in line to meet John Urqueba and Bob Eggleton and stuff, because like the kid wrote this thing like he's at a school and nobody else even knows what Godzilla is, and he thought he was the only one. I was like, this is like 10-year-old Jay again. And I was like, I gravitated to this thing, and like we took him around, and you should have seen it. I was like, I think that's how we would have reacted had we gone to an event like that when we were that age. And he went from like, I'm the only one that knows about this to there's 500 people here from all ages, from 8 to 80. Yeah. And I totally get it. That's one of the cool things about, I think, like us, like, and kind of our journey in this crazy fandom, but it's out there still. And I love it. Makes us stronger.
Yeah. Well, all right. Did you buy a toy?
I did, man. I did. And you know what? I think we bought similar toys, which is the best part.
I only have one thing. I don't know how many things you got.
I got two, but from the same place. All of it's together. Let me grab these right here.
I'm trying to think of what your other thing you bought. Oh, I know what you bought.
Yeah. So not Kaiju, but it's Marasan and it's Safubi and it's something that we both love, which are, they know we love dinosaurs, and they know we love outdated representations of dinosaurs. Like, it's something fun. And Marasan's amazing glow in the dark Triceratops here. I absolutely just like love this guy with like the crooked nose.
Oh my God. Why didn't I buy any of the dinosaurs?
I know, they're so good. They're so good. I can't now. It's gonna escape me as I'm trying to tell you. There's an artist. His name's Neil Ewing, but I forgot the name of his toys. And my buddy Chaz.
You talking about? Is it the pterosaur?
Well, he does. This guy does.
Does he do the pterosaur?
He does like all these kind of like vintage Pachi style. Like,
okay, I might be thinking of someone else.
Yeah, and his stuff is great. And you know what? My buddy Chaz, who does Kaiju Go with me, is going to kill me because he's a big Neil Ewing guy. I can't remember the name of his company. I'm gonna have to look it up when we have a moment.
The name sounds familiar, I'm sure.
Yeah, but he does these amazing Safubi dinosaurs, and this would fit kind of right in that. But I love those, and when we could take two of our loves and put them together, like dinosaurs and Safubi and stuff. Bombastic Plastic. That's his name of his company.
Okay.
Bombastic Plastic. It's great. And this is just, I don't know. I love this guy. But
that's cool toy.
It has a heavy glow. I mean, it is a big glow.
I'll tell you why I didn't buy any of the dinosaurs. Because that's too slippery of a slope for me. And I was not in the position. It was like, hey, wasn't it Christmas Day these went on sale? It was either Christmas
25th
Day.
or 26th,
Yeah, it was like Christmas morning because I was at my mom's for Christmas. Like, I think she was getting stuff ready, and I was like waiting for the countdown to go. And I was like, I can't afford to be buying all the things I want today. So let me skip on the dinosaurs.
Yeah,
because I needed to buy the other thing.
Yes, and so I'll unveil mine first. So
go for it.
From Marasan, these were the ones that were debuted and featured at DCon, but also at the Monster Patrol pop-up at DCon the night before, or the Thursday before the weekend, or whatever it was. But I got the Garmon, the 450, and I got this colorway. Oh, look at this one, the cool. I don't know if he had an official name on the colorway, rainbow or whatever, but we have the pink.
That's not a rainbow.
Yeah, I know. It's not Roy G. Biv, man.
It's like vomit rainbow.
It's the pink, yellow, blue, silver, and dark teal rainbow colors. Yeah. But I just absolutely love this guy. And the sculpt, I have the 350 Garmon of theirs and the 450. They're both awesome. I love their sculpt, and I thought this was just a wacky enough colorway, looked very different, and so he's going in my Ultra Q Cube. But I absolutely love this guy.
Do you have any other 450 Garamons, or is that the only 450?
I have this one. I have the Marasan 350 Garamon, which I have the Asuka Kubo, the one she did that was clear purple with glitter. It's really cool. It's cool. Right up in there behind June Monjame right there. You can't really see him there, but so this Garamon will go right next to that one.
That's awesome. And that's all you picked up, Jay?
It is. I do have 3 really big items that are currently in customs right now as part of a big Toku Toy Town shipment. So I hopefully will have those in 2 weeks, cool. including 2 off our top 10 list.
This is kind of off my top 10 list.
Oh, it 100% is.
And I also have something in your shipment off of my top 10 list.
You do.
And I also ordered something yesterday off of my top 10 list. Go ahead.
I also have something in my shipment off of your top 10 list.
What?
You already have it, so it's good. You already have it, so it's good.
What is it? Are you saving it for the save it? No, save it. You can tell me later if you want.
No. It is what you revealed on our last show from your top 10 list that Jess got you for Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. Well,
Yeah,
I'm not going to tell them. They'll have to go watch it.
Yeah, got the same one. Found it, and I was like,
Same
oh my
one?
gosh, like
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, you got the best one, so I got to get the best one too.
I was actually talking to Jess, and I was saying, so 2 years ago, at the end of the year, I went through my phone and my Instagram and all my pictures and all my figures, and I took pictures of every kaiju toy I bought that year. And it was like a ton of shit, right?
Yeah.
And I went to do the same thing this December for last year, but I didn't have as much as I had bought in the year before. I still had some great things.
Yeah.
I just didn't buy as much. But it like bummed me out, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do it if it's less. So I was like, I think going into the new year, I was like, I'm high gear kaiju buying this year.
I love it.
And I mean, honestly, I think both of us me and you both got really motivated when we did our top 10 list episode.
Oh, 100%.
Because I think by the end of next week, I will have bought half of my list.
That's amazing.
So,
because nothing on your list is cheap. If it wouldn't be on the top 10 list. We already have it.
Hey, what's crazy is I was looking at a toy the other day, and I saved it, and I was like, this is going on my top 10 list for this next year. I'm like already saving things, Hey,
I look at it like this. I mean, as our collections grow, our kaiju collection specifically, and and we run into space issues, and obviously a lot of the stuff that we like, it's not cheap, as I know a lot of our listeners there. It's a real big concern, space and money, right? Space on your shelves and space in your bank account. And the top 10 list is actually like, it seems like, oh my gosh, they're focusing on these 10 amazing items and they're really expensive. But what it's done is it's really made me look at when something new pops up that is cool. And I'm like, do I want this, or do I want to take this $100 and apply it to
get something
else?
Rare,
and right now, that's where my mind's at. And it's not against any of the new stuff. It's great. And I might in a year need it and pay more for it. But like right now, I'm truly trying to focus on like, would this be on my next year's top 10 list? And if so, then I'll get it. Or if it's just too silly. I'm still getting Doug if I can find him in store. But it's I think the top 10 list is actually probably a better exercise for us than we thought it was gonna be.
Yeah. It's good for my mental health, but it's not good for my bank account. But I also bought a toy from the exact same thing as you that day. It was a fun little back and forth. I was kind of shocked these were even up, and I was also shocked at the prices, because I am used to like secondhand Safubi prices, but I had to ask you why they were so cheap, and you explained to me that they the guy was there in the store, and it was like it was all.
That's how much they cost at G Fest. Like he's there, like
there was no markup. So I also got a 450 Garamond.
Look at that guy. That one was stunning. I love that one.
I love it. I love the purple. It's great. This is my first 450. I love how big this is. I want to get more of these. This is one of my favorite things I own.
And the funny thing, because it's like 450 is like, it's smaller for a 450, and it should be. It's Garamond versus like one of the other big guys, but it's the other 450s are even a little bit bigger. Hey, is that in real life as like the purple? Is it as metallic as it's coming across right now? It looks so cool. It's shimmering.
I don't know what the deal is. It's like certain angles look like it has silver in it, but it doesn't.
It's just a light.
Just very. Now there is a light on it, but it is very.
It's
shiny. Yeah.
The
color, there you go. Like that's pretty true right there to what it looks like.
I think looking at it right now, compared to even like the images on the site, the contrast between kind of the glow in the dark vinyl piece and the metallic purple, it's striking. Like it looks better there than it did on the site. Like I think I might have been the right one.
They had one other one that I almost got instead, but the only reason I liked it is because instead of yellow eyes, it had red eyes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I thought it looked so good, but I didn't really love the color of the red. But I was like,
You
the
can go in there
purple
and
is
paint that. You can go there and
no,
paint that.
it's good like this. I'm leaving it just like it came in. And I was like, no, it's the yellow is perfect for the purple.
Yeah.
So this is great. I really love this thing. And
Yeah.
you know, your newest toy is always your favorite one.
Mhm.
But it's like I bring, if I'm in the living room, I got him sitting in the living room. If I'm going to the toy room, I'm like, let me get Garamond, bring him in there. I want to be able to look at him at all times.
That's amazing. That's
I'm gonna get one
what
of
these things
those.
are for.
I'm gonna get a little baby papoose and start bringing him to work.
Baby Bjorn.
Yeah, this is
I
a
love
cool
it.
toy. This is a
It is.
fucking this is a toy that's so cool that it makes you want to be like, I'm gonna pull a J and get 89 Garamond figures.
Yeah.
The same thing, I get it.
Why not?
I get it. I can't afford that, but I get it.
Yeah, no, it's but I do think that truthfully, like for Marathon, like they have so many things that are great sculpts. I think their Garamond 450 is, especially for something that size, it's just dynamite. It's just dynamite.
That's how big every Sofubi should be. I know like Sofubi is a world of smaller figures, and I understand why.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get a Sofubi that's that big, like it has so much more detail in it.
Mm-hmm.
The colors, like everything just looks better. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it. I also picked up this shirt.
I have that one too. I had a feeling you would wear it, so I didn't. So I wore this.
Shirt. I wore this because I thought we were going to match.
I should have done that. Oh man! I think when we did last time we got our Marathon shirts, I think I wore the white one and you wore the black
yep,
one. If this would have had two colors, if there would have been a yellow one with blue, we would have done that totally. But I got that one as well. No, thank you, Monster Patrol, for bringing us all this great Marathon stuff. Thank you, Kaminaga-san, for doing that with Monster Patrol. Like I'm
awesome. So bummed they're in California. We both have had the opportunity to visit the store. It's a great little store. They're very good people, very nice people. I loved it in there. And I sometimes like I haven't been back to California and had time to do anything in a while. And I always I'm like, oh, we're going to New York. Does that mean I get to go to Monster Patrol? I was like, oh no, fuck, they're in California. I was like, oh fuck. But they're great. They're great.
And Little Tokyo is great there in LA too, like that whole area, because you can go to Hobby Jungle. You can go to obviously to walk 10 steps over and go to Monster Patrol.
Dude,
great food,
we ate at a ramen place there. With John Yerkeba.
Mm-hmm.
And it had vegan options, which is good.
Important.
And dude, I wanted to live I was like, this is the best meal I've ever had. It was so good. Yeah, good place. If you're ever over there, please check out Monster Patrol. It's such a fun store. And they have like a big Hedora.
You got to take a picture of that.
Hedora in there. So
yeah, and they're a good follow on Instagram. They always post really cool stuff. They're doing cool events there. They've had shows like not only Marathon has come for pop-ups, Sun Guts has come for pop-ups. I think Max Toy's done. He has some exclusives there. Mark Nagata, some really cool stuff. They just do a lot of cool stuff. Spumoni Toys has some stuff there. I mean, there's some really cool stuff. So absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So a little light on the pickups, but they're good pickups this week. We got no news. I didn't watch Kamen Rider, so let's just don't even talk about it.
Hey, we're
do you have anything else to talk about before we get into our main topic?
I do have one thing, if you can indulge me. So I know you guys that know we run Kaiju Go and everything, and we've had obviously our big announcements. We've talked about them on the show. We have a live stream the channel that Jake joined about talking about Mark Nagata and Max Nagata and Godzilla versus Biollante and Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Well, we have been announcing new stuff and new vendors because we wanted to make sure everything's locked in, and I did get a couple. I wanted to throw out a couple of new things that we announced this week, so like somewhat hot off the press. So if you have a chance to go, if you're on the fence and you love toys and kaiju toys and art and stuff and films, please do it, and hopefully one of these things will maybe push you over the edge to get your tickets at kaijugo.com. But we announced, hey, just there selling his art, hanging out, shaking hands and kissing babies, the great Matt Frank will be there. There's Matt.
Come on, where'd he get that mask from?
I know, right? He probably made it. Knowing Matt, he probably just made it.
Matt, let me get one of those Godzilla masks. That's
So I
cool.
mean,
Yeah,
Matt-
that's really awesome. I'm glad he's
Yeah.
going to be there.
I mean,
Good
he's
news.
done official Godzilla comics. He's done Gorgo box for the Gorgo toy.
Dude,
He's
you
done
don't even
Blu-ray
have
covers.
Everybody knows who Matt Frank. We don't even have to do it. Matt Frank's going to be there. Deal with it.
Deal with it, man. Also going to be there. I'm really excited. We were able to announce our good buddies over at Last Bastion Studios. So they're the ones that do. Most people know them for their Ragnar, which is this guy, and he's done tons of releases. I have two up there. But recently I showed off some toys. They did an officially licensed Subaraya little set of chibis there with Ultraman, Gamora and Gabora. And they're going to be there. They also are the ones that sculpt and pull and do everything but paint Kaiju Cream that Octil does. So they're
cool. Very
cool.
cool.
So Last Bastion, great guys, Chris and Wes and team. They do really cool stuff. Really excited to have them. The other one, which more kind of in the realm of like true designer toys, Safubi, indie toy makers. They're a husband and wife team. Magitarius is going to be there, and they've done a lot of stuff with Max and Mark Nagata have done stuff where they collabed with them. Frank Mysterio's collabed with them. A lot of big players out there. They do some of the coolest soft vinyl toys out there, period, end of sentence. The one I wanted to show you, and I showed you like their little kappas and some other stuff, and they do some really like space wizards and all this crazy stuff. But this little Gamma, this little frog guy, I'm going to show you this guy. Look at this. So
God.
Not only do they have all these colorways, this beautifully done Safubi, he comes as a toy collector. You'll love this. They come with these soft goods, hand-stitched kimonos.
Oh my God, dude.
I mean, look at the guy. He has this big, huge pipe. I mean,
soft goods
on Safubi. Like
Find
the
one.
worlds
Yeah.
are coming together.
That's amazing.
So anyway, so those are the ones. We have more coming, guys. Some of them from last year will be back, and we have some new guys coming in. It's really exciting. I think our Safubian toy game there will be up to an extra notch. And it's going to be really, really, really badass. So kaijugo.com, get your tickets, go buy some stuff from Magitarius and Last Bastion and Matt Frank and hopefully Toy Town and all the other great people that'll be there. Watch some Godzilla movies, watch some Ultraman, buy some art, get some Max toys. Still soon, hopefully we'll be announcing some exclusives on that front, which will be amazing. And yeah, there's a handful of VIP tickets left. We are almost sold out 6 months ahead of the game on VIP tickets.
Better buy those tickets.
Yeah, there's only like less than 50 left. Legitimately
Of VIP tickets, right?
Of the VIP tickets, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's about there's a lot more for the general admission.
Sure.
The theater seats about 600. But there's only 150 VIP tickets, and we're less than 50 already.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, so thank you. That's all that's the only other news. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm very, very. We were talking before the show. I'm very, very excited.
And Jake's gonna be there.
I'm gonna be
Jake's
there.
gonna be there.
Come say hi.
Yeah.
Cool. So we,
but not too much. Not too many highs.
Don't talk to me too much. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Like I want people to talk. So what we did here, we did a little exercise just kind of for funsies. Jay said, what if we did our top 10 like iconic moments from Godzilla's entire filmography? But we did kind of, so Jay, you came up with a list of like what, 30, how many did you pick?
37, 38.
Like 37,
like
38, something like that. And so we chose from those. So we kind of both chose from a list of like around 40 that Jay already kind of prepared. So you might be like looking like, that's not what I would put in my list. That's fine. I think both of these
You're
lists,
wrong, but that's fine.
Yeah, I think I think these kind of lists really, really, it's hard. It's almost like if somebody says, what are your top 3 favorite movies of all time? Or what do you think the top 3 best movies of all time? They might not be the same, right? So like, I might put Godzilla versus Megalon in my top 2.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not the second best Godzilla movie of all time. You know what I mean? So these are pretty like subjective to each person or whatever. And I feel like my list, I don't want to speak for you, but my list kind of, when you're younger, and you're the only person that watches Godzilla, it's kind of just what scenes impacted you the most and what scene in your head might be, as you get older and you see what resonates with the community and the world and everything. But yeah, so we're gonna do a top 10 here and compare them and see. I'm sure there's gonna be some surprises on both sides. I guess
Yeah.
we'll start at 10 and we'll do like 10 and 10 and then just go down the list, huh?
So yeah, that sounds good to me. So you would say like you probably went like the more personal route for how you ranked yours?
I think I did. Well, I would say that, but I think what my number one is, I'm questioning as I look at it. And I'm like,
Yeah,
you
me too.
wouldn't think I would put this as number one. My number one, I think, is more representative of the franchise as a whole.
Me too.
And
Mine is
not like what it's not from my favorite Godzilla movie at all.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I did not take I didn't take any like I don't say any, but like my personal thoughts of them was probably the opposite of you. It was like the lowest on my ranking. Like I think for me, like I
Sure.
did like if I was making the souffle, I think the majority of the ingredient would be like I think this is an important scene for the Godzilla franchise.
Yeah.
Number two, like that's probably let's say 50%. 25% is probably like, was it a good scene? Was it like, well done, well shot, well acted, well, like a really cool thing. And then like the last 25% is kind of a mix of personal plus like, is it a memorable scene? Like there are some that I think are like, when you say Godzilla or you talk people like oh yeah, that one for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That was less important for like, I think this is important for the franchise. So I did mine probably more from a less personal, like you probably did yours from the heart. I did mine probably from
I
head.
did.
So like I think
heart.
I think that'll be good. Like it'll be a nice counterbalance. See how different they are.
Yeah. Well, let's get on it. Who
Okay.
do you want to do your number 10 first?
I'll go number one. And number one.
Wait,
what?
what?
Number 10. I'll do
10. Don't do number one. Don't fuck the show up.
Hey, this could be number one on lots of lists. Hey, we love lists. People love lists. People love ranking things. And we're here to start debates, not to end them. So like, let's just start some arguments. So, okay, my number 10, my first one, I think will shock you because it's from a movie that I love. It's a great movie, but I don't mention it a ton as my favorite. And it is this one right here, this moment in 2016, Shin Godzilla, The City on Fire. The reason I picked this one, because I think first Shin Godzilla was so different of a film. It was so important. The importance of that film is great. And I think there are a couple scenes in Shin Godzilla that are in this list. This one to me, I think how they showed the destructive power of this new creation, this new style of Godzilla was so magnificently shot, was so beautiful, was so powerful. I think when I watched it, I was like, this is so different. It's, Kamada-kun and it's these different forms. But when you see this, you just like, holy cow, this is the most destructive thing. And it was done in a unique way with the radiation, the atomic blast coming out of everywhere, the wide shot of all the buildings on fire. Like I thought this to me, when you say Shin Godzilla, I think of this. And I think this was like so important to like, hey, we can be different with Godzilla and still be beautiful and powerful and amazing and make Godzilla bigger than anything else. And do it in such a different way. And I thought The City on Fire to me was just, it's beautiful. And I had it as my number 10.
I'm gonna watch that tonight. I'm gonna watch Godzilla tonight. I want to watch it right now. As soon as you started saying that, I was like, oh, I want to go watch that. So you don't know what my list is. As I say these, are you gonna pull up the?
I will.
Do you only have your time? Okay. Well, so my 10 is from a way different place. It is not as serious or my last couple are some of the sillier
I love
things. But I think number 10 for me, one of the most iconic scenes in all of Godzilla is that hibernation shot of Godzilla and Minya hugging in the snow. That is I don't care what you think about that movie. Some people hate Son of Godzilla. I think it's very fun. But the ending where the movie is so fun and like carefree, and then at the end it's the cold winter of Godzilla and it is such a beautiful visual, and it makes you, it's like, oh, there is thought behind this film. And I just feel like this image, when I was a kid, it stuck with me so much more than some other things did.
Yep.
I feel like you see people talk about this more often. This scene in the movie overshadows the movie.
The whole movie.
People who don't care about Son of Godzilla still are like, well, that shot at the end of them in the snow is, it's like sad, but it's also kind of peaceful, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I love it. And it's not nowhere near my favorite film,
Yeah.
but I just thought this deserved to be on the list. And that's why it's number 10 for me.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
It's number 6 on my list. Yes.
Oh,
Everything that you everything,
yeah.
everything that you said, I agree. I'll add this to it.
Okay.
I think it's really cool. When you said like the scene overshadows the movie, I agree. The movie, I think the movie's a little, I think it's unfairly judged overall, but it's still not a top movie,
Sure.
even regardless. But this just shows that, hey, there can be still one big moment that like is still important to the series. I also like, to me, like obviously the next 2 movies after this, like Godzilla is a dad that is a focal point. In Destroy All Monsters and in Godzilla's Revenge. But to me, like this shows like the humanization of Godzilla more so than anything.
Yeah.
And also like it is sad and bittersweet, but it's also like hopeful and optimistic. Like,
Yeah, sure. It's weird.
He's gonna survive, right? But like it is like, okay, like Godzilla is a loving, caring, father figure here. And of course, obviously he's viewed it. I mean, he's his fathering a child and raising him and rearing him, I guess more so, is a huge through line in the Heisei series. We get from baby to junior. So like if this scene, I feel like this is like an important piece to be able to make that as something that they do beyond. So it's beautifully shot. Everything you said is perfect. I think that this scene has a lot of weight throughout the whole history of Godzilla.
Yeah. It's also like such a fucking flex of a move to make a movie this kind of dumb and silly and fun, and then be like, let's end it on the most serious scene in the Showa series. It's just fucking make it hardcore. Like, I love it. It's great. Hey, I'm watching this when we're done.
I know. Marathon. Okay, my number 9. Only a couple years before, only 2 years before, from a great movie, Invasion of Astro Monster.
Oh.
Rodan and Godzilla go to Planet X.
Yeah.
I think, to me, visually, this scene is beautiful. It's cool. It's unique. But even though aliens were introduced in the movie prior, like, when the Venusian alien, took over Princess Saldo and everything, and that beautiful performance by Kiko Wakabayashi, I think this film, by taking them to Planet X, by taking them to space, I think it really solidified that, hey, aliens and things from space can be a big, big, big part of that, of the franchise. And obviously it is. I also think just like the fact that these spaceships just encapsulate them, these bubbles, and they just, they're so like still and not moving and rising up. There's just something like, so like, I know we're going to say this a lot of time, but like iconic about that. And it's like retro sci-fi, but still kaiju, and like it feels of the 60s, but like it just, I don't know. I think it's important. I think it's cool. And it's an image that's always going to be in my brain when I think of kind of the Showa era. And Invasion of Astro Monster is such a great movie too.
Yeah. I'm not going to add anything to that. This is not on my list, but it almost, it was one of the ones that, like, if it was 11, it probably would have been.
Honorable mention. Yeah. What do you got for number 9?
Dude, number 9, Godzilla versus Megalon. Show me that drop kick.
We all love it.
Listen, it is, hey, this is the most iconic thing in all of Godzilla. And I don't care 100%. If you hate it. I don't care if you think it's the dumbest thing Godzilla has ever done, because you're wrong. It is the most badass Godzilla has ever been. It is from the best Godzilla film of all time. that fucking crazy tail slide drop kick. I love this movie. Everybody know people who don't know anything about Godzilla
Yeah.
go, doesn't he like slide on his tail and do a drop kick? Yeah,
Yeah.
he does. Number 9.
Yeah, so it's not on mine. I tell me like if I rank this by most like recognizable or the one that like if I had to put in front of people, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's Godzilla. It would be this scene.
Yeah.
Of the crazy things that Godzilla does especially in the Showa era, like the really wacky things, like that's taking it. There's 4 or 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
This stands above the other ones. The other ones are probably on like in the honorable mention category, but like this one, it stands above. And if I ranked on that criteria, it'd be number 1. I am not shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
for sure.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it is kind of an important, I mean, Godzilla versus Megalon is so tokusatsu and so zany and stuff like, and this is the most memorable scene from it. Like, I don't know. I think it's an important piece too.
Yeah.
I love it, dude. Okay. So totally changing gears to a different era. I think this one might be the most shocking on my list because of what series it's from, but I will stand by it. I do think it's one that we will remember and talk about for a while, even though, and I think it is not. There is not one in any. That's not allowed. But it is from 2021, the movie that saved the film industry, the theater industry, from Godzilla versus Kong. Yeah, I tell you, and here's why.
Okay,
Remember, I will asterisk this. I don't know. I haven't seen the new Empire yet, so it actually Godzilla and Kong now working together could weaken this one. This one in a couple months could fall into my top 10.
Sure.
But as we make this, I have to pretend that Godzilla X Kong does not exist because to us it doesn't.
It's not out yet.
We're seeing the 2 most iconic kaiju, 2 of the most iconic monsters. Maybe outside of like
of all time, honestly.
The Universal monsters. Like, I mean, if you go larger than Frankenstein, right? And the whole movie they're against each other. We see a pretty awesome 2 awesome fights on a aircraft carrier in Hong Kong. But then when we get to see them team up and work together against on also iconic, but not quite to that level, Mechagodzilla. I mean, this version of it is not, but Mechagodzilla in theory, theoretical Mechagodzilla. To see Kong and Godzilla, to me, and once again, in the context of the pandemic, this movie most likely should have failed, and it didn't because it came out and it was the first big movie coming out of the pandemic, or still in it. And it's Godzilla and King Kong working together as a team, tag teaming it. To me, like I think that's Hall of Fame monster movie worthy is to see those 2 together. That movie after the second or third watch, after we got out of it, like the recency bias, it's bottom tier, middle of the pack, whatever.
Sure.
But this scene to me is super duper important, and until they trump it, seeing that first time they work together, I don't know. It made a big lasting impact on me.
Damn, Jay. You know what? You're 100% right. And I think there's probably I'm spoiler alert, I don't have anything from like the American, Godzilla films on my list.
That's my only one.
But I think you could also say some of the same things for 2014 Godzilla, because that movie.
Yep.
I mean, we're about to be 5 movies in.
Yeah.
We're getting a whole like legacy of fucking Godzilla stuff because of Godzilla 2014. So I think that and this are both. I'm gonna watch that tonight.
That one you can just watch those 3 scenes.
I'm just gonna. Hey, I don't want to. I want to talk about Godzilla versus Kong. That movie is not great, but I was so worried they were gonna have Kong win.
Yeah.
And I love how he loses every battle with Godzilla.
Yeah.
Like there's never a point in that movie where I'm like, oh fuck, Godzilla's in trouble. He is not in trouble
until Mechagodzilla.
Until Mechagodzilla. Yeah, but it's like he is not. Yeah. He was going to kill Kong.
Yeah,
it was gonna happen.
And he just walks away. He's like, I'll let you survive, and thank goodness he did. But yeah, to me, like I said, if we had to rank all the series and the eras, of course, Legendary Monsterverse for me is at the bottom.
Sure.
You know,
It's at the bottom.
I still like it. I still like it. Please, people don't get mad.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I like Showa and Heisei and even the Millennium
Yeah.
because of a couple of the movies there. But we can't deny the impact and importance of the MonsterVerse. Like,
sure.
think of all the fans we're bringing in, all the content
New
it's generating.
kaiju and stuff. Like, there's lots. There's so
Yeah,
much.
I mean, it is so beyond what
Yeah.
us as even like Godzilla nuts. Like, understand, like, it is so important to the
let's-
brand. Yeah.
Hey, let's go to G-Fest and do a panel called "The Importance of the MonsterVerse," and then just spend an hour telling them how much better the MonsterVerse is than Toho. just to piss. I don't even believe
Throw
that.
stuff at 'em.
I just want them to get mad. I just want them to throw tomatoes.
Yeah. How to piss people off. Yeah, I love it. And then I'll follow it up with my Godzilla's Revenge, best Godzilla movie ever panel.
What are we on? Number 8.
Number 8.
So different. Switching gears again, and this one I can't imagine is not on your list. I can't imagine, but maybe it is. But I put Godzilla's Meltdown in Rebirth from Godzilla versus Destroya because that is, even though those Heisei films are somewhat, I don't know, like Godzilla movies have always had this trend of like being kind of fun and silly and then hitting you with some serious stuff. And even though Godzilla vs. Destroya has got plenty of fucking dumb alien ripoff silliness and in it, the emotional weight of watching Godzilla literally scream to death while he melts off his bones is horrifying. And it's like equally is like fist pumping when you realize Godzilla Jr. is evolved into a new Godzilla. And I don't like, what else is there to say about that? Like it's there. Godzilla doesn't die very often. And usually when he does, it's pretty like impactful. And I think this one was very impactful.
That would sound like one of those Dos Equis commercials. I don't drink beer, but when I do, it's melting down.
It doesn't usually die, but when he does.
I'll say this about this scene. It's number 2 on my list.
What?
Number 2. Yeah. I
Holy shit.
And for everything you said, I think when you think of all the different times that Godzilla has died or there's been a perceived end, this one, it's a hard ask. And it's also hard to make it modern and not be the same ripoff of 1954, but also have connective tissue with 1954. And I think this was gorgeous. And then, of course, the fun part is if it was just the meltdown, I think it would be in my top 10, definitely like well shot, emotional scenes.
Yeah.
But then when the rebirth part, I think makes it like that death and rebirth. Like I think the kaiju cycle of life piece there is amazing. And I also think it's cool because, we had a lot of emotional equity in Baby Godzilla, and he turns into little Godzilla. And then we get him it's 3 movies, right? And Godzilla Jr. And then like he dies, he gets his, ass whooped by a really great villain, right? A really, imposing monster. And it's like, that's really sad. And then Godzilla dies, or he's melting down. And like, not because of Destroyer, but because like he's going to explode anyway. And how they tied it together, it was beautiful. The ending was great. I think it's just important for the series, and it shows that like you can do it in a very meaningful, amazing way. And I think this was beautiful and emotional and important. All of them. It's number 2 on the list.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I definitely, I got his number 8, but it deserves number 2. Also, this makes me think of, man, how many Godzilla films end with an ending like this? Shin, I think Shin's ending is like this. I think -1's ending is like, like
GMK,
where it's like, GMK, where you're like, oh my God, what? Like they're these little stingers. How many times are they able to do that and make it awesome every time? Every time it's awesome.
And it's funny, like those two, like when you think of -1 and GMK, it's like he's the bad guy, 100% like the villain. This one is like, more force of nature / protagonist. And of course, Junior's like, I mean, him and Mickey Sagusa and all them, like they are like 100%.
friends.
You know, yeah, and I think like this was done so well. Yeah, I love this. I love this one, and I like Godzilla vs. Destroy a lot.
Mhm.
It's not my favorite movie. It's not in my top 5, but it is. I do like it. I love how they honor the original without being just over the top, like whatever. And I do think this is a really good way. But like the other thing about this movie, taking it back to like when it actually was happening. And you know, we obviously got the films later than Japan, and you know, of course, all the marketing was Godzilla dies in this one, and so you know, I felt like it was a gimmick. And I remember watching, I was like, oh, this is gonna be bad, and like, it's gonna be like terrible and whatever, and, or rip off 54. And the fact that it wasn't, it was really well done to me, added that extra, like it was like it was like watching Gamera Guardian of the Universe, and everybody's like, no, this Gamera is really good. I'm like, sure,
Right.
they're
Sure
making
it
a
is.
good Gamera movie. I'm like, oh
God,
yeah,
should I move this up my list? I feel like now I'm looking at number 4 and I'm like, ugh, 4 is so dumb.
We're allowed to change these every day.
I'm gonna watch this tonight. Cool.
Okay, my number 7. Okay, my number 7. This is an interesting one because this is also a very memorable scene.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it has some importance to the Godzilla fandom because of its importance to creating a very common, almost made fun of now myth about Godzilla, and it's the great Atami Castle Fall Godzilla, King Kong versus Godzilla, 1962. So we get it's the epic final battle of those two, and I mean it sparked really a debate that went on from 62 until
think it's
Oh yeah, well, I was like, yeah, that piece, yes. But I'm saying even like, aside from that, like the debate on who's stronger, Godzilla or Kong,
right?
From 62 until we got a final conclusion in 2021. But then, of course, you're right. It sparked a debate for many years. You know, I know probably when I got the internet, I first probably thought it too of the myth of the two separate endings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Godzilla wins and the Japanese version, and Kong wins the American version. So the fall, and I love the actual scene of them fighting over the castle and crashing into it and all that. It's awesome. You know, I know they tried to do that with Osaka Castle for Godzilla Raids Again. And it's a great scene too, but this one I think takes it to the next level when you have the tumble down and of course Kong emerging from the water and the Godzilla roar at the end. Like it just sparked so many debates. It's the two most iconic monsters, and it, you know, led to arguments for decades after. So because of it, probably got people into fistfights over stuff for 50 years. I got to go with, for 60 years, I got to go with Kong and Godzilla falling off Atami Castle.
Hey, I haven't watched this in a while, but you talking about it has made me interested in doing. I bet it would be really fun and interesting to watch this movie back to back with the American Godzilla.
Yeah.
Just watch them back to back and see what it's like. Yeah.
So anyway, so I have 2 King Kong moments on my list. So
that's insane. I have 0. Cool. So my number 7, a little different, and now this one might be a little. I'm going for the American version of this.
Okay.
Godzilla 1985.
Yeah.
The fall into Mount Mahara is so. Dude, Craig Goldberg calls me every time we're recording Monster Island. Can't answer, dude. This, you know.
Well, I should have Raymond Burr on here then. I didn't know it was doing the 1985 version. So
yeah, well, I mean, that one, I didn't get to see Return of Godzilla until much. I was an adult when I got to see the actual Japanese version, and the way I was able to see it for the first time was I bought a bootleg of it at Dragon Con. You know, I bought a bootleg that had the original and had 85 on it because there was no official release. I mean, now there has been, so we're all good. But I grew up watching Godzilla 1985, and I remember, you know, it's the first time I have very, very vivid memories of going to my grandparents' house and my grandpa sitting me down and being like, "Hey, we taped a Godzilla movie for you," and I was like, "Oh, cool, which one?" And they were like, "It's a new one," and I was like, "What do you mean it's a new one?" You know, and I remember my grandma being like, "Now he's scary in this one." You know what I mean? I'm like 6 or something. They're like, "He looks different. He's got fangs." And I was like, "What?" and
Like, even
Godzilla,
better.
yeah, and Godzilla falling into the volcano at the
Yep.
end, or Mount Mahar at the end, and the voiceover.
The
I mean,
voiceover. Oh my god.
it's so good. I was trying to explain to somebody the other day who's new to Godzilla stuff about they knew that there were two different versions of this film, and I was like, hey, they're both. I was like, watch them both, because Raymond Burr is like, he did some really great stuff for Godzilla, and he was a no nonsense man, and he refused to make fun of Godzilla, and it's great.
Yeah.
His voiceover is awesome, and I quote it to myself all the time. It's beautiful, and I mean, we put it in our intro,
Yeah.
So this, I feel like, Godzilla doesn't die, but you don't know that maybe he's dead. It is definitely
4
like,
years. 4 years later,
dude. When Godzilla roars at the end of this and his cries go up a register, it's like, it's so hard to listen to, and it's like the thing that I always loved about it is that everybody is sad. Everybody's watching it and they're crying. It's like Godzilla's trying to kill everybody. I don't know. This I just think this is a beautiful, beautiful scene in a film. And yeah, it's number 7 on my list.
It is. I have like 3 that I was fighting for number or 4, I guess, for fighting for number 10. This was one of them. And I think I was questioning whether I can split this and 80 and putting it as the 1985, because I think when you add the voiceover, it would be in that top 10 for me. Because that voiceover, it would be number 1 of my favorite Godzilla speeches. It would be up there.
I'm gonna watch it tonight.
Yeah. You got a lot. That's a really good one. Well, so that was your number 7. Well, I've already done my number 6.
Okay.
It was Hibernation, Son of Godzilla. So
do you want me to
number
just?
6?
So my number 6 is it's a new one.
Oh, okay.
It's a little. I got some -1 in here. I put the chase.
Wow.
The -1 chase in here, and I'll tell you why. Not only is it like it. So if you listen to this show, whenever this trailer came out, I don't think it really, like, the trailer did not wow me, and it didn't wow you either, but the movie has floored me. You know what I mean? I've seen it 3 times in the theater, and even though I don't think it's the best, I'm not one of those people who's like, it's the best Godzilla in the fucking world. It's not. It's great, but it's not the best. But it's got to be the most important Godzilla film since the original Godzilla film, right? It's made so much money. It's been in front of so many more people. It got so much hype, and it got so much, everything. People have not. It's fucking nominated for an Oscar. People are not stopped. Everybody I know is going and seeing this movie, even if they're not Godzilla fans. There's so many people in my life who will never watch a Godzilla movie in their life, but they watched this one.
Yeah.
And that is a big deal.
That's a big thing.
So also, this scene in particular, you're seeing Godzilla in a way that you have never seen Godzilla before. You have never seen him swimming like that. It's always upright, walking in the ocean. And that makes no sense, No. They tried to kind of make sense.
He's great at treading water. He's great.
They tried to make sense of it where he floats a little bit. They tried to, like, kind of address it without having to address the fact that he's like got to be kicking his feet under there. But he's swimming like a dog here, and he's literally just, hey, it's Godzilla. You've seen the destructive force. He's just playing with this boat. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's playing with them.
I think the scale, it helps. Like the fact that it's not like a battle cruiser. It's like this little boat.
Yes.
Adds to it, I think. Yeah.
And it is one of the best looking Godzilla scenes I've ever seen. Like, it just is. To me, it's the best looking thing in the movie. Yep. It is the best looking Godzilla. The effects are, it's insane that they made this money for the amount of money they made. Like, it makes no fucking sense that especially this scene. There are times in the movie where you can see the wall break, and you're like, oh, that's a little, you can tell that's a budget, but this is fucking, it is like they wrote the whole movie around how good this is. It's awesome.
Yeah, the Godzilla as an aquatic animal, needs to be explored further because these are the most beautiful scenes. In fact, it's funny you mentioned this. So like, I literally am looking at my list and I have number 10 was my Shin Godzilla City on Fire, and I put / the chase / Mount Mahara / another one I won't mention just in case you have it on there.
Okay.
But like it literally like I couldn't decide. Like this one, like the reason I chose this one as instead of the Shin Godzilla is like I think I've just had 7.5 more years to ingest the Shin Godzilla one. It's still that important.
Sure.
I need some time, but this one is on its way to being an iconic, like transcendent moment in the Godzilla franchise. So I no doubt like this one could be number 2 on my list in a couple of years, right? Like it's that good.
Yeah.
100%. Okay.
Well,
so
what
my
do you got
number
for what?
number 5.
What you
Number
got?
5. So number 5 for me.
Hey, this is fun.
I know. It's fun because it's like, oh yeah, Godzilla has a
It's
lot of
making me want to watch all of these movies right now.
So number 5 for me is, I would say, of all of them, this is the one that I injected most of my personal love and why I love Godzilla in it. But above and beyond that, it's a very memorable scene that's been replicated a million times. It's also was never this type of collection of characters was not done until Avengers did it in the MCU, and that is from Destroy All Monsters, the Monster Melee.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's 9-on-1. Yes, we know they're going to win. Yes,
With
there's
no arms.
with arms. I mean,
Dumbest thing ever.
I get that, but just
Yeah,
from
but
the
hey,
time-
but listen, but 3 out of the 9 are useless.
they're just in the
Maybe
background.
4 out of the 9. Yeah.
It's basically Gorosaurus, Anguirus, and Godzilla against, and maybe a little bit of Kumonga and Mothra larva. But for me, it's the whole scene. Because as a kid, this was my first Godzilla movie I ever watched, and I'm okay. I'm seeing monsters and stuff, but then when you see like the reporters and who's coming out first, it's God. No, it's Minya, and then Godzilla comes, and they all come out, and then you have King Ghidorah. It's like, this space dragon thing must be tough because it's gonna battle all these monsters, and I'm rooting for Godzilla because he looks like a dinosaur, and Anguirus and Rodan because they look like, and Gorosaurus, they look like dinosaurs, and I love dinosaurs. I've never seen monsters like this, and boom, and but like just seeing all of those monsters together on the set, to see the from the final Minya shooting the rings out to the final blow for King Ghidorah, everything about it is like. It's just etched in the lifeblood of Godzilla, mixing metaphors there. But you know what I mean? Like it is that important. And Destroy All Monsters was just, was supposed to be the last, and it was kind of the final Godzilla film. And we know obviously that didn't happen. And it just was it was great. And that was just this, we got to see 10 monsters.
Yeah.
Kaiju, giant monsters on the scene, or in a scene at the same time. And with some asterisks on there, obviously, for some of the other ones. But I don't know. As somebody's like, I've never seen monsters, Godzilla stuff before, a 6-year-old, and then I get to see 10 of them. I'm like, oh yes, please. This is my new favorite thing. And here I am, 36 years later, still talking about them. So for me, Monster Melee, Destroy All Monsters is my number 5.
Yeah, I mean, I did not put this on my list, but it is one of the ones that's like, now that I've listened to you talk about it, I almost feel a little ashamed because it's like, well, of course it should be on the list, right? It's not on mine. I'm sorry. Hey, but my number 5, you have already talked about, so we won't have a ton to say, but it is Shin Godzilla, and I basically picked the same scene as you, but I think just the only other thing I wanted to touch on is that first time you see that Godzilla pop up. You know what I mean? Not just the destruction, but him in his final form, or his fourth form, like lumbering out of the ocean, feels so dangerous. And that movie's got some comedy in it. And it's got plenty of levity, and the first couple of forms of Godzilla are really silly, and you're all like, "Oh, this is fun, this is great." But then when that fourth form shows up, you're like, "Oh, we're all dead. This is not fun anymore."
Yep.
And we've talked about Shin Godzilla so much. I think it is top tier, top top 3 Godzilla movies of all time. I think it's
Yeah.
an amazing film, and I think I know everybody's like on -1 right now, but I know Shin Godzilla is going to be remembered. Like, I mean, if it's 100 years from now or hundreds of years from now, and there's a little bit of civilization left, and whoever's alive only has space in their brain for 4 Godzilla movies, this is one of the 4.
Yeah. 100%.
So
I
it's my number 5.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, it was it's great. I can't really say anything else.
Is it? We can move
okay.
on.
My number 4. So we're in the final 4. My number 4 is okay. So right now, little inside baseball. I'm editing about a 30-minute video that I'm doing the top 10 most underrated performances in the Godzilla series. And so like underrated, I'm saying like, not the classic characters everybody knows, not Serizawa or Miki Sagusa, but like the characters that we don't think about when we think about like Godzilla performances. And there's one by a veteran actor that was in a lot of Godzilla movies, a lot of other movies. He's a the late great Yoshia Tsuchiya. He played the controller for Planet X. He was in Matango. He was in Space Amoeba. He was in so many Godzilla films. But this moment and this character of Yasuaki Shindo from Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, Shindo versus Godzilla, I just refer to it as the scene. Because to me, I think if I did the best Godzilla scene as far as like from cinematic storyline, like not importance, but just like within the context of their own films, this might be number 1 on my list. Shindo, because I think it's a polarizing film. We know for all the reasons. We got Dorats and Major Spielberg and convoluted time travel, but we also got like, I think just the ability for them to first say like, this is the dinosaur that Godzilla came from.
Yeah.
That was a big risk for them to take. And then of course, Shindo was the one that dinosaur saved his garrison in the war, battling off the American garrison. And then it comes back full circle and he's now this dinosaur loving, eclectic billionaire. And at the end, he's sitting at the top of his giant penthouse, whatever. There's dinosaur statues around him, and he's just staring down this rampaging Heisei Godzilla. And he looks at him, and they talk with their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And Godzilla kills him with the breath, like, "Hey, dude, yes, but like this is a different Godzilla." That whole film, Tsuchiya is a master.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what he does with a darting of an eye or a dramatic pause is something that most of the actors couldn't do in a whole career. And I think this scene is kind of the final culmination of that. And it is just one that you watch and you're just like, did that really just happen? Like that meant something to me. That made me have an emotion that I don't typically see in Godzilla films. So for me, Shindo versus Godzilla, I think is until Godzilla's meltdown in Destroya, it is to me the most important thing in the Heisei era that legitimizes the Heisei era is the Shindo Godzilla stare down. So there we go.
I'm not even gonna try to add anything to that other than also it's one of the best looking Godzillas. And
oh yes, that too.
It is one of the best looking Godzillas,
especially ever. Close up.
Yep.
Like because like you get a little nervous, right? But like it was like
it's beautiful. Yeah. That's the pocket of films where Godzilla looked better than he ever has. So
he was perfect.
Yeah, I agree with that. But here's the thing, Jay. We could not have planned better going from your super serious number 5 to the
number
most
4.
The most self that was your number 4?
Yeah.
So that was like the most beautiful real thing you just said about a Godzilla movie. And we're going to go to the one super self-indulgent one that I put on the list that is the silliest thing ever, and it's Friends Forever.
Yes! I was so happy you picked that. I was worried.
Yeah, I mean, this is it right here, dude. Like, this is everything that I live for and stand for in my life, and I wish in high school, whenever I had to have a senior photo, I wish it could have just been this picture. Yeah. Jet Jaguar is amazing, and I think he has risen from, clearly we've talked about Megalon before. This movie is really weird and silly and fun and dumb, but Jet Jaguar is like one of the most popular kaiju
He's
of
an
all
A-list
time.
celebrity
Like,
now.
He's walking around high-fiving people last year. So this is one of the best things ever to happen. I love this movie so much, and I just think this encapsulates Godzilla for me. So I love this handshake. The music is perfect. I love the Jet Jaguar song at the end of this. This whole movie's got really great music in it, but like just this scene, I can hear this. I can look at this and I can hear exactly the sounds they made, the music that was playing, and I want this photo on my coffin or my tombstone or whatever. This is awesome.
This was the other honorable mention for me. This was the one that I was,
because you knew it was on here somewhere.
Well, here's the thing, like to me, like even, and I mentioned this in the Dropkick one, like I think when I think of the people have, they have these like, it's not even like necessarily tied to the eras, because within the show there's different ones, but there's serious Godzilla, and then there's classic golden era Toho where he's a bad guy or good guy, but it's not as like full silly. But then we go into like Gigan and this, and even a little bit in Hedorah, not so much in Mechagodzilla and stuff, but like really these two, like a little bit in Mechagodzilla, but it's that silly, I'm focused on kids, tokusatsu, made for TV type stuff.
Yeah.
This scene, I think, is the most representative of that. So to me, it's very important to the Godzilla continuum. I really think it's that important. And I love it because I love, like you, I love Megalon. I love that film. It makes me happy. That's the reason we picked it as one of our first two for Kaiju Go, because it's Godzilla versus Megalon. And it is amazing. Like, it's one that you can watch with your kids at 10 a.m. or go to a midnight movie, and it's equally fun either way, right?
Yeah.
And this is, and Jets leverage this to now becoming like the hottest kaiju mech in the Toho universe.
They brought, seriously, they brought him back for Singular Point, and he is the hero of Singular Point. He is the star of and Singular Point is
great.
One of the best things to happen to Godzilla in a long time. So this is great. That's my number 4.
Awesome. Well,
I tried my last 3. I tried to be serious. I tried to like actually put my final 3 are they're not Godzilla shaking hands with a robot. They're
Okay, so
I wonder if any of ours
a couple of things. So we know my number 2, obviously the Meltdown.
Oh, it's the Meltdown, right?
Yeah, my number 3 though. So I agree. So Shindo versus Godzilla was my number 4. And then I took there's a little gap there, because I do think the next 3 are the most important scenes in Godzilla. And it's Meltdown is number 2, but number 3, you talk about not shaking hands with robots, but there is a robot in this one, and it's from the following year, and that of course is Enter Mechagodzilla. I think that this is, not only does it establish what you could argue is Godzilla's greatest villain with King Ghidorah, you can throw that in there. That's at least a discussion. I feel how this was done with the 2 Godzillas, the music
is so fucking
the unveiling, the like legitimizing a giant.
Dude, it's like a wrestling match. Dude, it's literally like I imagine being alive in 1974 at the movie theater, even though I know I'm watching a movie called Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and as soon as you see the metal, just being like, what? What the fuck? Just like freak it out. It's that kind of reveal.
Yep. And so I just think it is it's the most perfect reveal of a villain in the entire Godzilla series, including some of the really awesome reveals of Godzilla when he is or isn't a villain. But like, I just think it is that, like, that scene right there, I think is the 3rd best Godzilla scene, most important Godzilla scene, most well done. Like, to me, this is one that does check every box, and it would be my top 3 favorite, my top 3 best, top 3 most important. Like, it is the one that I think hits all of those. And it is just, to me, it's a total package. It's the most perfect reveal of a Godzilla villain in the franchise. So I'd go with the Mechagodzilla's entrance in 1974.
I agree. So my number 3 is from your favorite movie, and I'm surprised it's not on your list, but it's The Emergence.
No. So we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. Yeah.
I mean, it's not Godzilla versus Mothra or Godzilla versus the Thing. It's not my favorite film at all. But it is one of the best Godzilla movies of all time. It just is, and I don't think there's many people out there that doesn't think that.
Yeah.
But there's something about this suit. There's something about this entrance. Godzilla is really a villain in this movie, and he feels like it. And just the entrance of him coming out of the ground. When I was a kid, I always thought, even though I don't think Godzilla enters out of the ground very often, but for some reason, this scene made me think it was always what he did. I was like, Godzilla's gonna come out of the ground. I used to like draw him coming out of the ground all the
doesn't
time.
matter.
Yeah, I just draw, and they're like, that happens once, I think, yeah, I feel like when you're talking about iconic shots, iconic movies, Mothra versus Godzilla is it, dude. And this entrance, it feels so much bigger than the movie. And I mean, it's kind of a simple thing, it's not, but it just feels like it embodies Godzilla to me.
Yeah. Yes. It's funny. I view how you view Mothra versus Godzilla. It's kind of how I view Godzilla versus Biollante. Like with you, it's like that one to you is like, it's number 1 or number 2 on your list, right? It is an amazing film. I think it is an amazing film. I love Godzilla vs. Biollante, but to me, like, there's just something that it doesn't get in my top 5 favorite. It would be in my top 5 best. And that's sort of like, I view like your Mothra versus Godzilla. It's like, you get like why people think it's so good, but like, it just doesn't get in your top 5. I always view those as like my Mothra versus Godzilla or my Godzilla versus Biollante is your Mothra versus Godzilla.
And I get why this is, we both understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So this scene, the reason this is not in my top 10, it would be number 1 or number 2 if I did my favorite scenes in Godzilla.
Sure.
It would be probably my top 10 if I would do probably the best like shot and like cool things. But for some reason for this scene, and I don't know what it is about Mothra versus Godzilla, this I think is the most iconic scene. There's a really good speech with the Shobajin and stuff as well. But
yeah,
I think this one, like, I just feel it's one of those, it's a great scene in a great movie, but like nothing more, right? Like outside of the context, I don't know if, when I was trying to do this list, it just, to me, like it didn't check that box.
It doesn't have a ton of, it almost, it's like it's great and everything, but there's not like an emotional weight behind it.
Yeah, 100%.
Welcome to the ground. I think if I made this list every single day, it would be different. You know what I mean?
100%.
As I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, is this what I put?
Oh, I'm already making changes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like,
well, I have a, so you've already done your number 2, right?
I have. Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to do my number 2. I want to take a guess that my number 2 is your number 1.
Okay. Yeah. I bet you. I mean, I went with kind of like an obvious one.
I mean, my number 2 is Godzilla's death.
Yes, that's my number 1.
So I put this as number 2.
Yes.
And I mean, come on. It literally is, it's from the first film. The sacrifice, that takes place here. It is so emotional. It's great. It's the original. I just like, you don't need 2 guys on a podcast to sit here and tell you why Godzilla's death is the best fucking thing ever.
Hey, this is a good movie, guys.
And listen, the only reason I put it as number 2, like, it is number 1, but I put it as number 2 because I just wanted something fun for number 1. You know what I mean? I wanted something that felt as important, but wasn't Godzilla dying is number 1. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you, because you've already talked about it, but my number 1 is the entrance of Mechagodzilla.
Nice. Yeah.
So there's nothing else. I mean, everything you said, it's
you
just such
me up, man. You should have shut me up.
No, just let you do the work so I could just be like, me too, whenever we got to 1. So that's my number 1. So there we go. I guess that's our list.
What an anticlimactic ending.
We just kind of fucked it up. We all did the same things there at the end. But
so here, let's real quick. I'm gonna let's talk about some of the other ones real quick. We can rapid fire these, but I threw them in there. I'm gonna go through some of these. Obviously, we did that one. I thought the train biting, I had to throw that in there. That was one of those, like, it's an iconic scene.
Well, he's
like,
always
moment,
down
right?
to eat a train, so
He's always eating a train. So I'd mentioned a little bit on this destruction of Osaka Castle and Godzilla raids again. I think it's really cool because I was actually debating doing their first battle because it's like the first time you ever see Godzilla fight another monster.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of cool, but it's
It's
so
kind of
short in the little eye
important.
in the ice thing. It's so short.
is that
and,
where the little puppets or
Yeah, like real fast. Yeah. We're like Kobayashi and Tsukioka are like looking through the thing, like looking up the crevice. Yeah. So I put this one on there. This is a great scene.
Oh,
once
yeah.
again, when they try to basically defend humanity and like give us a chance. I know we fucked up, but like help us, Mothra. And I think that's a cool scene.
Yeah, it's all top tier actors too in this scine. Like,
yeah, I mean, once again, why Mothra versus Godzilla is so good. I had to put the Shea dance on there in case we went with the wacky, memorable. Hibernation, we talked about that. Monster Melee. Okay, so I was surprised you didn't pick this one because we all my spacing was wrong there. We always talk about like it's like one of the first times you see Godzilla like you see the physical death of people.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of a cool moment.
Yeah, me too.
Not for the people dying, but cool for us. This along with the drop kick, along with the Shea dance, the taking flight, and the drop kick, Friends Forever. I also put the return in '89 from Biollante when he comes out with the music. That's a pretty badass.
Well, it's great, and I wanted to include something from Biollante just out of my own thing, but his fall into Mount Mahara is so much more dramatic.
100%
emotional than his return's awesome.
His return's more fist pumping. It's like
it is, but to me it was like, well, I'm only going to do one Mount Mahara, and it's the fall.
That's a rule. Only one Mount Mahara. Okay,
this scene I love. This scene I love is one of my favorite scenes in this movie.
Yep.
It's great, but I just didn't think it was right for the.
This would be in my top 10 favorite scenes.
I want to watch this tonight.
Yeah, it's so good. I thought the death of Biollante, it's not one of my favorite scenes, but it is like, I feel like when you think about the movie, like you think of the glitter and Erica and all that good stuff.
Again, I can hear that music and
if we did a top 10 best shot battle scenes or fight scenes, I think Yokohama Cosmo World is up there. I love the Ferris wheel, the bright colors, the battle at night. Like, I love this one.
Dude, this makes me think. So I'm going to say this idea, but I don't think it would be doable unless we both rewatched every single Godzilla movie that exists. But it would be a fun episode if we did like top 5 uses of miniatures in a Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
Like, that would be really fun, but it would require me to watch every single movie.
Yeah. And pay attention
to the miniatures. But this immediately pops in your head because you got the giant Ferris wheel.
Oh, it's so cool. It's so cool. And Batra carrying it. Yeah, I love that. And to me, that's just a great one.
Batra's such a good design.
I know. I really want Mega Gearus versus Batra, and just Batra wins in 10 seconds and it's over.
It's like Godzilla versus Zilla.
So I almost put this one on my honorable mention. I love this scene. When we get Fire Rodan and we obviously the custody battle over maybe Godzilla.
Yeah.
And when it dies and it's the Mothra-esque sacrifice, but to see it with Fire Rodan, I thought was really cool. And then have him come up and kick Super Mecha Godzilla's butt after that was really great. That's a great scene. We talked about Meltdown and Rebirth. I had to put one from '98 in there. I was just tempting you to put that one in there.
I was like, Jay, what are you doing?
Here's the thing. Like, for better or for worse, we saw a lot of Godzilla '98 in marketing and trailers and whatever for so long. I was like, I always think of the Hank Azaria scene. I always think that's the one. This is a great one. I almost put the Joe, the fisher guy, the fisherman on the dock.
Yeah.
I almost put him in there. I love this one. I think visually it's cool. But I think it's really neat to finally see a bad Godzilla against the good King Ghidorah.
Yeah.
And how they shot it.
This is a great movie.
Yeah. And when they see it in the same scene together, I think that's really cool. The other scene I almost put in there was, because I really do, it was not one of my favorites, but I think it's really well done, is the hospital scene. where like she thinks
Where he
she's
kills the
alive,
girl in the
and
hospital.
and the tail comes back. Yeah,
Oh my god!
that's
I
a great
hate.
scene too.
I rewind that scene every time I watch that movie.
It's so good. I mean, the girl plays it so great too.
Yeah.
Like, and you hate her because of the earlier stuff. Like, I mean, I guess,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just perfect. So this is a fan favorite when
Sure.
he kills Zilla.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say. He kills
This is
Zilla.
fun. Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned this kinda the importance of 20.
Well, I think this probably wouldn't. If I picked a scene from this movie, it'd probably be the first time you see Godzilla. Whenever
That's a
it's
good
like
point.
the
Yeah.
airport thing, you know, I think that's probably really cool. But I would. This movie I do think is important to the
Yep.
franchise, and yeah, this is a good film.
I love this scene. I think it's one of the coolest kaiju kills. The kaiju wins.
Yeah.
I mean, I stood up in the theater when I
It's-
saw this.
You know,
I was like,
not to like. I know we're an hour and a half in, and not to get off track, but like, it's a hard thing to make. It was probably very, very hard to make an American Godzilla film
Mhm.
and make it for people who don't know who Godzilla is,
Mhm.
but also make it for fans of
Mhm.
Godzilla and know that you can't use another Toho monster, but like you kind of have to put a monster in it because the last American Godzilla movie didn't do
Mhm.
a monster. So you have to come up with a new creature that can be like formidable, but not. It's the first monster he's faced. It can't be something insane.
Godzilla's gonna win.
Yeah, so it's like that. Saying all that out loud is like that. That seems like a big undertaking for someone to have to do, and I think this movie nailed it.
Yeah, I think having the male and the female, the two, because you have
Yeah.
the kind of the numbers advantage. So like
Yeah.
that monster doesn't have to be formidable, but if you put two of them, and yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not a Muto hater. I'm not a Muto hater.
sure, they're great. Hey, one more thing before we move off of this picture. This just about a minute. Did they take Godzilla's gills away after this movie? He doesn't have gills anymore, does he? This is making me forget he's even got them. He's got fucking gills in his neck. I think it's. I'm sitting here thinking, and I feel like that's a design aspect they just completely removed from him. I could be wrong, but it's like seeing them there now is kind of jarring.
Well, we obviously lost our MonsterVerse panel for not knowing that.
That's all right.
Okay, so I had to put this one.
Yeah,
This one to me is
This
one
is
of
the
my
best
favorite.
kaiju design of all time.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite scenes. I also think how just different. First off, like it really hits home that Godzilla's evolving. Like this is gonna be whatever. Like the chaos, the movement. It's so different. It's horror and it's just there's just so much.
Yeah,
And how silly and gross and everything looks like with this just gunk flying out. Like
Mhm.
I think this is one of the best scenes. It would be in
I
probably
agree.
my favorite scenes.
It's
and the
also
best
like
shot.
it's also it's also right after a joke. Like
Yeah.
it's a joke cuts to this,
Yeah.
and then there's no music. It's just this
Yeah,
thing
it's so good.
with blood coming out. It's amazing.
With the giant eyes and like it's
Yeah.
just I don't know. It's so good.
It's
I
insane.
might go watch Shin Godzilla tonight. We've talked about
Let's watch
I
it.
said-
Yeah.
Yeah. This one I love because of all the debate that it sparked.
The implications of
Yes.
of what
and,
this means. Yeah.
and I hope there's never another Shin Godzilla
No, dude,
movie for
just
this
leave it.
because like I love the fact that we'll never know, and like it's whatever we imagine in our head, these human of evolution, the next stage of Shin Godzilla
Yeah.
is better than anything we'll actually
Yeah.
ever see. So let's leave it. I love one of the best endings of any Godzilla film.
I
of all
agree.
time.
Yep.
Once again, why Shin Godzilla is one of the best Godzilla films of all time.
Mhm.
I think for MonsterVerse fans, I think the Mothra sacrifice, the modern kind of sacrifice here with Mothra, making him go nuclear, finally beating, almost said like George W. Bush, nuclear, and defeating King Ghidorah, who is obviously built up really well in King of the Monsters. I
Yeah.
think that was people like that scene. I think it's a cool scene. And then we talked about all these, like
Battle
the
at
battle
Sea
at
is
sea
awesome.
and
Yeah.
the Hong Kong, the lights
Sure.
and everything, like great stuff.
Sure.
I put a Godzilla singular point in there. I think the
Mhm.
final battle with Ultima, not only the scene, the actual action, but also the kind of you start understanding what the whole thing kind of unravels.
Hey.
For you and you learn about it.
This also kind of has one of those endings, you know,
Yeah.
like one of those crazy endings where you're like, "Whoa, what?"
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this was
Oh my god! I just got reminded of the Shin Mecha or the singular point
Yeah,
Mecha Godzilla at the
I know.
end too.
I actually, honestly, Jake,
I need this show to
I
come
almost
back,
put I almost put that on the scene, the stinger scene in there. I was
The
like,
stinger
it's
scene,
that
yeah.
good. It's that good.
It is.
We talked about the chase. I
Mhm.
also put the
Ginza
the
attack.
rampage in Ginza,
Yeah.
yeah, just because not only is it cool to see him finally the city, you have the black rain coming down, and you also have the spikes doing their or the
Yeah, the
atomic breath
crazy.
doing their thing. So I
Yeah.
thought that was really cool. I think that's a scene that we will
Absolutely
talk about forever. So yeah, those are I thought those were a pretty good encapsulation. Yeah,
All
there are
good
some
stuff.
movies. There are some movies, and guess what, guys? Like some of my favorite movies, Godzilla versus Gigan, Terror of Mechagodzilla. I love these films. They're in my top 10, top 5. They didn't have any of those scenes. It was more kind of like, you know, the sum of the parts. So anyway, I don't think that because I didn't include a movie that you love that it doesn't mean I hate the movie. It just means
Sure. There's
that
there's like 40 movies, so like there's hundreds of scenes that I think could go in a list like that. And
if you want your movie to have a scene in here, have him drop kick something. And then we'll put him in there.
If you want to tell us what your top 10 list is, join the Patreon. Put it in the Discord. We have a Discord for Monster Island.
Oh, I love that. That's
there.
awesome, dude.
Yeah, this was a fun episode, Jay.
I love ranking things. I love it.
we'll do more meaningless ranking in further shows. Thank you for coming up for this. I think we're gonna have some cool toys next time we record. Hope so. And Jay, you got anything else?
I want you to go watch Shin Kamen Rider after Shin Godzilla and Shin Ultraman.
Oh my god, there's not enough hours in the day. I really am sitting here thinking like, which Godzilla movie am I falling asleep to tonight? Because it's like, is it Shin or am I putting on King Kong versus Godzilla? I think I'm putting Shin on.
I think so. I think I might watch Shin Godzilla too.
Yeah. All right, guys. We will see you next time.
Bye.